Okay, so next we're going to be working on the checkout settings. So let's go ahead here and click on checkout. The first thing we're going to work with is the method of payments that we want to accept in our online store. The first thing you will see here is Shopify payments. Now, this whole section here deals with credit card payments. In other words, if you want your customers to be able to use their credit cards directly in your online store and enter their credit card information, then you're going to have to activate one of the credit card gateways. Now, depending on the address that you've entered when you signed up for the Shopify account, this may or may not appear. And when I say this, I'm talking about Shopify payments powered by Stripe, because currently it's only available in the United States and Canada. And since the address I've entered is in the States, I have this as the default credit card gateway option for me. Now, let's say that you do want to activate the Shopify payment, and if you are in Canada and the United States, you might consider it just because they have a 0% transaction fee. So if you do want to activate it, you're going to have to click here on Complete Shopify Payments Account Setup. Let's go ahead and click here. You're going to have to enter details about your business and personal details, customer billing statement, banking information. And once you're done with all of this, just click on Complete Account Setup. But since this is not something we're going to do right now, I'm just going to go ahead and go back. Now, let's say you do not want to use Shopify payments and you would like to use a different credit card gateway. Just go ahead and click here on Edit and deactivate the Shopify payments by clicking here. So it's asking here whether you're sure you want to deactivate it. Just click on Deactivate. And you're done. It's deactivated. As you can see now, you're presented with a drop-down menu where you're able to choose from the many credit card gateways available through Shopify. Just to show you how you can choose one, I'm going to go with the PayPal PayFlow Pro. It gives you more information about the credit card rate, transaction fees, all sorts of different information. And also you have the setup instructions here. So let's go ahead and go back. One last thing I want to talk about in this section, the Accept Credit Cards section. At the end of this course, we are going to test our online store. The reason you want to test your online store is because you want to experience your online store from your customer's perspective. And one of the things we're going to test is the checkout process, meaning once your customer adds a product to the cart and goes through the checkout process, you want to make sure that it goes smoothly, and if you encounter any things that you want to change, you can always change it. And in order to test the checkout process, you're going to have to actually purchase a product from your online store. You do not want to actually pay for the product because it's just a test. And that's why at the end of the course, when we're ready to do that, we're going to come here and click on the drop-down menu and click on for testing bogus gateway. And that way we'll be able to place an order without having to pay for the product. Next, we're going to move to PayPal. One thing I want to point out here, by default, Shopify has added the checkout with PayPal to your online store, and it assumes that you do not have an account with PayPal. So let's say a customer places an order on your store, basically paying using PayPal. If you do not have an account with PayPal, what will happen is PayPal will email you and let you know that a customer has purchased a product from your store and will give you a set of instructions. Now, you can do it that way if you want, or if you do have a PayPal account and you want to use it, go ahead and click here on Edit, and then click on Deactivate. It's asking you here, are you sure? Yes, we're sure that we want to deactivate it, so we'll just go ahead and click here. And you also have more options here if you click on the drop-down menu. Now, let's say we still want to use the PayPal Express checkout, but we want to use our own PayPal account. Click on PayPal Express checkout. It's asking here, you've used PayPal Express checkout before, which is true because it was set up by Shopify. The only difference is we want to use different credentials. So click here on Use Different Credentials. You will have the setup instructions. Once you click here on Activate, you will be redirected to your PayPal account and you will be able to follow the instructions from there. Okay, so now that we're done with this, let's go ahead and exit. And let's move on to the third payment option that you can offer your customers. Not everyone will use this, but let's say you want to accept, for example, Bitcoins. This is where you do it. You come here to the select additional payment method. And let's say you want to accept Bitcoin, so you click on BitPay. But this is not really a very common method of payment, so we're just gonna exit this. And finally, the last type is basically manual payments. Let's say cash on delivery is a popular method of payment in your country. This is where you'll be able to choose it. If you click here on the drop-down menu, you will see that you will have the option to choose either cash on delivery, money order, bank deposit, or you can even create a custom payment method. So let's say we want to choose cash on delivery. And just to explain cash on delivery for those of you who don't know what it is, think of when you order from a restaurant. Once you get the food, you pay the delivery guy, right? And this is basically how it works. Once the customer receives your product, they will pay the delivery guy. Let's go ahead and click on cash on delivery. Here you'll be able to change the title of the name of the payment method. It's a good idea to keep it the way it is, cash on delivery, but it's good to know that you can always change it. You can also add payment instructions here for your customers. The instructions will be displayed on the thank you page once the customer has completed the checkout process. Once you're done with all of that, just click on activate. The same thing applies to money order, bank deposit, and custom payment. So let me just show you real quick money order. Again, it's the same. You can change the name and you can add instructions and just click on activate. So let's go ahead and exit this. Now, the reason you have all of these different payment methods is because you want to offer your customers as many payment methods as possible because you do not want to lose on sales. So you have to think of your customers who are not comfortable using their credit cards directly and would prefer to pay with PayPal, or those who would prefer to pay with cash on delivery, for example. And that's why Shopify gives you all of these different options. Okay, so now that we're done with our payment methods, let's scroll down. The next section here deals with customer accounts. I'm sure you're familiar with accounts. Basically, if you've ever purchased anything from an online store, you know that sometimes you have to create an account in order to be able to buy a product from the store. And sometimes the store allows you to check out as a guest. So if you want your customers to only be able to check out as guests without ever being presented with the option to create an account, you keep this the way it is. You'll just keep the first option. The next option is a little bit tricky. The reason I say that is because here it says accounts required. Now, you would think accounts required means that your customers will have to create an account in order to purchase a product from your store. But it doesn't exactly work that way on Shopify. If you do choose this second option, you, as the store owner, will have to actually create the account for the customer so that he or she will be able to purchase products on your store. This option is a good idea if you have a wholesale store or if you have a members-only store. The final option here is to make accounts optional. So a first-time customer will basically be able to check out as a guest, and at the end of the checkout process, they'll be presented with an option to create an account. If that's what you want, then go ahead and click here and save changes. Let's move on to the next section here, order processing. This section deals with all the different options related to order processing. Okay, so the first thing here is it deals with basically the billing address and the shipping address. So once your customer adds a product or products to his or her cart and they click on checkout, they will basically be presented with the first step of the checkout process, and they will have to enter their billing address. Now, since most people have the same billing and shipping address, Shopify gives you the option to use the billing address as the shipping address. So in other words, your customers will not have to fill out the information twice. and that's a good thing. But of course, if you don't want that, you can definitely uncheck this box. Next, we're going to be talking about consent for promotional emails. As you know, when you purchase a product and you're going through the checkout process, you will be presented with the option to agree to receive promotional emails. And sometimes the box next to it is checked by default. And if you, as a customer, do not want to receive promotional emails, you just basically uncheck this box. And this is basically the first option here. You, as the store owner, will make this box checked by default, and your customer will be able to either leave it the way it is or uncheck it. If you choose the second option here, the box will be unchecked, and your customers will have to actually manually check the box to agree to receive promotional emails from you. The final option here will basically disable and hide this field altogether. Next, we're going to be talking about authorization of the customer's card. You can either leave this the way it is, where basically Shopify will authorize and charge a customer's credit card, or you can choose to only authorize a customer credit card and capture the payment manually later on. The reason you might want to go with the second option is, for example, if you have pre-orders. But for most online store owners, the first option works fine. Let's move on to the next option here. After an order has been placed, you can either choose to let Shopify automatically fulfill the order, or you can do it manually. And it's definitely recommended that you manually fulfill each order yourself. But of course, there are exceptions there, and there are times where you definitely want to go with the first option here, which is automatically fulfill the order. And a good example would be if you're selling ebooks. If a customer buys your ebook and their checkout is successful and you receive the payment, they will automatically receive the ebook on their email. On the other hand, when it comes to physical goods, you will have to actually package it and ship it to your customer, and that's why you want to manually fulfill each order. Next, we're going to be talking about archiving orders. I recommend that you leave this box unchecked. Otherwise, orders will not appear in your orders list. Of course, Shopify allows you to manually archive an order from the orders list. That's something that I'll be showing you later on in this course. Next, let's move on to the refund and privacy statements. It's definitely recommended that you have a refund policy. It's very important for customers to be able to know, if they decided to return the product. Here, you'll be able to create a refund policy, your privacy policy, as well as terms of service. You can either create your own, or you can click here on Generate Sample Refund Policy. So let's go ahead and click here. As you can see, Shopify has generated a sample. You can go through this sample and make all the necessary changes. Let's say your policy lasts only 15 days, so you can definitely edit this part here. And once you're done, just click on Save Changes. And the same thing applies here with the privacy policy and terms of service. You can either create your own or generate a sample. And once you're done, don't forget to click on Save Changes. The final section here is your checkout language. You can choose any language you want. As you can see right now, the default language is English, but if you click here on the drop-down menu, you can choose from all these different languages. And the last thing I want to mention here is that there is a really cool trick that you can do in this section, which is basically creating a new translation. This will come in very handy when we test our checkout page, and I'll show you how you'll be able to make changes to it. And that's it for the checkout settings.